What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Will and Rock MMA podcast.
What's going on, everyone? We got two cards we're going to be discussing about
Yes,
today.
sir.
We got UFC 228 Tyrone Woodley versus Darren Till.
And the one that just happened today.
What just happened today was UFC Fight Night 136, Mark Hunt versus Alexei Oleinik. Let's start off with the card in the past, which is UFC 228. First fight of the card was Abdul Razak versus Nico Price.
Now, this is a very intriguing fight because this guy Abdul, he has everything to be like your next Gaethje, like a guy that's coming into the octagon. Is either he gets knocked out or he's knocking somebody out, but he's been on the winning line, so he's been knocking people out left and right. This kid has fucking power, one, and two, he likes to open himself up just enough to try to get that counter punch, which has been working for him tremendously. Nico Price had no chance in this fight.
You know, it's interesting because I feel like Nico Price had a specific game plan going into this that completely went left, and he had nothing to back it up.
Yeah, I think
kudos to Razak for that.
Yeah, man, I think Razak, he came in not backing up whatsoever. Everything was a forward movement. Tremendous knockout, and he got it's a highlight knockout.
There's a lot of hype behind this guy.
Yeah, it really is.
Now it's time to show it. You know what I mean? Put him on a couple of UFC fight nights and make him the co-main event. Like this is the time to start putting him in the spotlight.
Yes, sir. What's the next one?
Next fight we got Jimmy Rivera versus John Dodson.
Now, another really good fight. It kind of reminded me like Woodley happens to be in this card, but like Woodley versus
Stevenson.
Yeah, versus Wonder Boy, where they kind of clash, right? They have very similar styles. They're in and out fighters. They're stand-up fighters.
They both wrestle pretty well.
They do wrestle pretty well. Absolutely, both of them do. Jimmy Rivera had the upper hand. It came down to the wire for me. I did have Rivera winning the fight. John Dodson did not do enough, I think, personally, to get the victory. Tremendous performance by Jimmy Rivera. We're starting to see him come along, and we're gonna have to give him the next top 5 fighters in the division.
So I originally had John Dodson. I feel like he's one knockout away from getting that boost and momentum that he was coming from, because man, this is the guy who put up fights with freaking TJ. Well, he fought TJ. He fought Demetrius Johnson. I mean, he was knocking out big guys, man.
Yeah.
Granted, he never beat Demetrius Johnson. Demetrius actually exposed him and how to beat him. But he's not. I don't find him to be that aggressive.
Yeah.
I think he still has that mentality where he's gonna go in and out and really contact with one and knock the guy out. That's not working for him. It hasn't worked for him in several fights.
Yeah. It's very true. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's 100% true. He's not the same fighter he was.
He was mentally. He's not. You know, granted, he has a family. You know, people change when they have something at home that they want to go home to. They want to get less hurt. So a lot of risks that Dodson was taking in his first fights in his career, he's no longer doing that, and that is unfortunate. It's fortunate for his longevity in the sport, but it's unfortunate for his victories because he's leaving it up to the judges.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's obvious. Jimmy Rivera just outbeat him, just completely outworked him, and he ended up taking the loss.
Yeah, that's 100% true. Yes, sir.
And yeah, this is one of the cards that was also pushed back from the preliminaries up.
Right.
Because we did have Montana versus... Oh my God, Carolina, and they Montana got end up going
Valenchenko. But anyways, what's the next?
So we got next fight. We got Sabit versus Brandon Davis. I'm not even gonna try to butcher his fucking last name.
Sabit didn't look like the promising Sabit that we're used to seeing. Although he did submit Brandon Davis in the second round.
How he submitted him?
How he submitted him was tremendous, and it's interesting because in that card there was 2 of the same exact submissions. Keeping in mind the submission hasn't been done in the UFC period, so it just happened to happen twice. Joe Rogan was talking about it, like maybe Sabit was looking at it from the sideline, watching the fight beforehand, and said, you know what, I might want to pull this move off, and if he did, he pulled it off. All right, tremendous submission. Could have easily won submission of the night, and again, not the best performance by Sabit, but then again, It was a last minute opponent that got into the octagon.
Well, that's what I was gonna get to.
And on top of that, you know, he is. But one thing about Zabit, man, he's crisp, man. Every punch that he throws, he sees. He could see the openings, but he let himself go a little too much. Where his he got clipped a couple of times that he probably should have not been clipped. So. Again, great performance by Zabit, not the best performance. Let's just leave it at that.
So the great thing about someone like Zabit is the comfort level of what he has when he comes into the octagon. He's one of the few people in this world of MMA who lives for this. And granted, there's a lot of other fighters who do this, but who's just so comfortable, just looks like he belongs there. And the great thing about this fight is that he took a last-minute fight and how much he's going to learn from this fight. You know, the fact that he pulled it off. There's a difference between getting lucky and pulling something off or intentionally doing something and pulling it off. And the thing with him is that it seemed very intentional.
A move like that cannot be something that comes out of nowhere. You know, it has to be something that, you know, as they rolling, he starts to see the openings and he goes for it. It's not something that all of a sudden, oh, look at it's there.
But once again, even though this wasn't the Zabit that we were accustomed to and probably didn't put the performance that we were accustomed to, this is still such an impressive victory.
Yeah, absolutely.
The way he win, another highlight reel under his name. You know, it didn't come from a knockout. It came from a freaking crazy ass submission.
Yep.
Who is next? And Jarvis called him out again on Instagram.
Yeah.
Like, shout him out. What's going on? Let me get back on the octagon with you. I followed off.
And that's the fight that should happen. Depending on that fight, I think the next person should start getting ready for that title fight.
I couldn't agree with you more, man. Zabit has really made a name for himself, especially after this fight.
What's the next one?
We have Jessica Andrade versus Carolina. Why? Goddamn, we said before, we didn't to cut you off, but before this fight, when we were predicting about these fights, one of the things we said is Jessica Andrade's wrestling and her power is gonna get her to that belt.
Yep.
And what the fuck does she prove?
Exactly that. 100% that. Carolina had no business being with her in that octagon.
And that's crazy. We're talking about someone like Carolina.
You know, that fight reminded me of like Amanda Nunes versus Ronda Rousey, where Ronda Rousey from the beginning of the fight had no business being in the octagon with Amanda Nunes. Completely the same type of fight. Andrade had better hands, not only quicker, but throwing haymakers to Carolina, and that last one caught her right under the chin and laid her out. To me, I remember after seeing this, I was so in shock because I'm thinking to myself, a women's MMA has come so far. We were not seeing knockouts. We were seeing a lot of submissions, a lot of unanimous decisions. You know, now
wars.
Absolutely wars. We love, and the reason why there was wars, Rock, it was because they were hitting each other and nobody could knock each other out. We're starting to see people like Jessica Andrade and Amanda Nunes and Chris Cyborg and Holly Holm, all these fighters who are starting to get knockout power. It's a beautiful thing to watch, the evolution of women's MMA.
So what I'm curious about is it really the power that's getting thrown or the location? I think it's
a little bit of both. It has to be a little bit of both.
Well, you gotta remember someone like Chris Cyborg, someone like Amanda Nunes who's been doing this for so long. Like I think that the IQ of the sport with these women have come such a long way. Especially when it comes to locating punches, knowing when to throw them, knowing where to place them, not just throwing it because there's an opening. I'm gonna throw a punch, no matter where it lands, gonna land. It's about precision, and that's one of the things that I'm finding with women's MMA and why it's here to stay, and it's just gonna evolve into this huge monster. Is because women IQ for this sport has become such a long way. Yeah. And I'm telling you right now, women's MMA, hands down, has to be one of the most entertaining things to watch.
It really is. It really is. I look forward to every single fight, even before when they were not knocking each other out. It was always been a fun fight.
I love the fact we predicted this one. I think she proved exactly what we were discussing. She made us look good in this whole process.
Give her rose. Give her rose.
Damn.
Give her rose. She deserves rose after that knockout. And that, my friend, is a fight. That's a fight. Easily promotable as well. Easily.
Oh yeah. Hence, I couldn't agree more.
And Andrade called it. She wants the fight. She wants it in December.
You were talking about Americans versus Brazil. It always almost falls back to that Brazilian versus American rivalry. You know.
What we got next one?
So we got Tyrone Woodley versus Darren Till. I mean,
I initially So you talk on it.
So I mean, if I could say, initially you had picked Darren Till. Reason behind it, you felt like they would the height, the mass behind Darren Till was so much more than Woodley. I will say this: never doubt a champion. This is the perfect example of never doubting a champion. You know, we I was listening to Brandon Shaw's podcast, and one of the things that he said that I think was such key and on point was, we've gotten this fights with people who didn't match up very well with him, like Damon Maya, like Wonder Boy. These people didn't match up very well with Woodley, so you got that from Woodley. You still got the victory from Woodley, but we've been brainwashed for so long to say that he's a boring fighter. This is somebody who's made a life of knocking people out since he was coming from Strikeforce. This is somebody who's literally worked his fucking ass off to get where he's at. And now we're saying, oh, he's a boring fighter, or is this? Because I fall into the same realm. We both fall, because we talked about, every time we talked about Tyron Woodley, what's the first thing we say? Oh, he's a boring fighter.
I wouldn't say the boring, but like, oh man, what's his opponent going to be like? Because I'm more interested in who he's going to fight.
Stylistically, who's going to fight.
Yeah, right. Maybe that would make him want to be more of the aggressor, which he's just such a technical fighter. Is why back to what you're saying, is how he beat Wonder Boy twice, is how he beat Damien Maya. You one slip and you lose, with these fighters. And you're completely right. We keep on doubting a guy like Darren Till. Not only did he win this fight,
Darren Till, we keep down Darren Till. We can't with Tyron Woodley.
No, we keep on that. It's what he did to Darren Till is what I'm trying to say. His performance versus Darren Till was just hands down amazing. The first round, they both were kind of like checking each other out a little too much. There was not a lot of punches being thrown, and for that reason, I said to myself, "Ooh, Darren Till might take this fight," because I felt like he was sizing him up, couldn't really see the angle, and decided, you know what, I'm not gonna throw no major hard punches.
Didn't take enough
risk, without a doubt. Come second round, you could see Darren Till getting a little more warmer, and he decided, you know what, I'm going in for a kill. And he got himself a fucking right hand directly to his face that knocked him out, knocked him on his ass, and immediately Tyron Woodley gets on top of him, and before you know it, he's just submitting him, and Darren Till is tapping out.
So kudos to Darren Till for taking a ton of fucking elbows to the face.
Absolutely.
I want to rush though because we have a whole new card to go with, but to cut things short. Never doubt a champion. Never doubt Tyron Woodley. Did Tyron Woodley prove why he's a champion? They put a young guy. He made him look like a young guy.
Yep.
And it's not every day you can say somebody knocks somebody down and doesn't just automatically look for the KO.
Yeah.
Experience, the fact that he saw the opening, the fact that he went for the submission when he had hit, shows the type of, he's there to win, and he proved it, and he's a champion for a reason. Fucking shout outs to Tyron Woodley for that, for sure.
Tremendous performance.
UFC Fight Night 136 that just finished happening today in Russia, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct,
right?
Russia.
We had Alexei versus Thiago Alves.
Now, unfortunately, Thiago Alves, he got knocked out his last fight. And then come to this fight, he now loses by decision. This is a guy that's taken more loss in his career at this point, his last few fights. He hasn't been looking great, to be honest. He's a step slower than any opponent that he gets into the octagon. I'm not gonna say that he should retire. I just don't think that he's, unfortunately, that he's the caliber of a fighter that he once was. Is why I don't think he really belongs in the UFC at this point. I think he'll do great in Bellator.
So I couldn't agree more. Obviously, we don't know his contract and how many fights he has left in his contract. But I do believe that. By the way, kudos to Alexis because we're not giving him enough credit.
Yeah.
I think he did a phenomenal job in this fight. He knew he was going up against, and he did exactly what he needed to do. I think Thiago Alves needs to reevaluate his career as a whole. And like you said, I couldn't agree with you more, man. I think he's a Bellator fighter at this point in his career. He's not necessarily a UFC fighter at this point in his career. He either needs an explosive knockout, he needs an explosive win, something that's going to make him boost his confidence. I don't know where he's getting his confidence to continue going on these fights, man.
Yeah.
He's a true warrior, to give him all the kudos. And we talked about him for so much because that's the same guy that fought George St-Pierre and came close to beating him. So, you know, shout outs to Thiago Alves, but really shout outs to Alexis. He did exactly what he needs to do, and he beat a big name.
Yes, sir.
We got Andrei Arlovski versus Shamil.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna butcher his last name, dude.
Right.
What do you think about this fight?
I think it's a replica of what happened with Thiago Alves. A guy who he wins, lose. He has so many losses and so many wins. But we're falling in love with a guy like Andrei Arlovski. He's been fighting forever, man. Back in the Tim Sylvia days, which it was so much fun to watch. He was one of the first fighters that I remember watching when I first started watching the sport.
That's a scary looking dude when he started.
Absolutely. And, you know, he's given us so much in the octagon. I believe if it's one of the people that between him and Alistair Overeem is like, I don't want to push them to leave because the heavyweight division is not all as glammed up to be right now for them to, you know, leave the division. But at the same time, they are taking a lot of losses, and I'm looking forward to actually seeing Andrei Arlovski step in the octagon again and see what the next performance might come out to. But kudos to Shamil, tremendous performance again.
So Shamil, kudos to you as well. I sucks that we're talking more about the losers than we are talking about, but it's because these are the guys that made a stepping stone for these guys that they're fighting against, right? So someone like Andrei Arlovski, the reason why we love Andrei so much, we root for him so much, is because he's been doing it for so long and he's still doing it at a high level. So no matter how you see it, no matter what criticism that Andrei Arlovski still gets, he's doing it at a high level of MMA, man. Yeah. Something like, you know, we talk about Alistair Overeem. Alistair Overeem just looks slow. The thing about Andrei Arlovski is that he's still so technical with his style, and he's still looking for that KO. Like, he still does what he needs to do in the octagon. He fell short today, but like you said, man, looking forward to seeing him again. I believe he's a Thiago Alves. He's one fight away from making a name for himself all over again to going back in there, right?
What's the next one?
So we got John Blachowicz versus Nikita Krylov.
Now let me talk about this kid, man. Jan Blachowicz. He's been injured. He's coming off 8 wins in the UFC now. He just finished calling out Alexander Gustafsson. Now, I think it's the right time to call him out because Gustafsson doesn't have a real matchup right now because of his injury. Perfect person to call out. Make this fight happen. I'm as excited to watch that fight as I am, like we just spoke about a few minutes ago, Andrade versus Rose. Make that fight happen. The kid deserves it. Tremendous fighter, tremendous performance. Congratulations on your submission.
Real fast, there's nothing like having somebody who they put so much hype and delivers.
Yeah.
John Blachowicz has been doing that, and he's been doing that at a really fucking high level of MMA. Yeah. The fact that they're talking about fucking Alexander Gustafsson at this point, bro, you're looking at the pyramid.
Right.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying the fact that he sees himself fighting in that level. Yeah. With someone like Gustafsson, proves to you who this guy is and who people really believe in him. The UFC should back this kid up. They should give him that fight. If they cannot make the John Jones versus Gustafsson fight at a MSG, which I think that's going to be like the one that's going to come under the ringer, no one's really going to expect. That's my personal opinion. Give Gustafsson John Blachowicz because he definitely deserves it.
Yeah, not on the main card, but I agree.
Yeah. It is what it is. Fucking give us a guy. Are you fucking kidding me? Just fucking put him on, right? Yeah. All right, so we have last but not least, we got Mark Hunt. Versus Alexei Oleinik. Man, so I'll start this off. So we got someone like Mark Hunt, who we love, man. We love the guy. Somebody who's, you know, at an age where he's 40 plus years old and he's still doing things. And we always talk about high level of MMA, and he's been doing great. But then you look at Alexei Oleinik and you go, God damn, this guy is probably about the same age. He submits every motherfucker that walks in there. What does he do today? He walks in, knows who he's stepping up against, and delivers his game plan. Completely delivers his game plan. Submits a Mark Hunt in a rear naked choke What else do you want from this guy? Give him. Listen, they gave him Mark Hunt, which to me is a phenomenal name for him.
Yeah.
Who's next?
Oh man, that's a very good question. Who's
Alistair Overeem, bro.
I think he's past Alistair Overeem. I really do believe he's past Alistair Overeem. You know, it's gonna be very interesting who they really planning. I can't even think about who. You know, we have Miocic, Verdum just got popped. He's out. You have Cain Velasquez. If he comes back, put him in the cage with Cain Velasquez. I think it's not only a great fight, but I think it's a good fight for Cain Velasquez coming back out of this injury that he's been out for such a long time. And you know, but you have to make it happen. You have to put this kid back in the octagon.
He's far from a kid.
Yeah, you got to put this fighter back in the octagon because he's winning these fights. And he took a lot of punishment in his last few fights. Although he won, he took a lot of punishment. In this fight, he didn't take too much punishment. He submitted a rear naked choke in his hometown of Russia, put him back in that octagon, and gave him a better fighter, man.
All right. So with all that being said, guys, that's a wrap. I couldn't agree with you more. Catch us on the Will and Rock MMA podcast. In Instagram, on our Twitter page.
Yeah, just ask questions, we'll answer. Peace.
Peace, guys. Have a good one.
Peace.